Okay. This is Allie Staney, and I'm going to be talking about the poem I Clean by Nikki Giovanni. So the speaker is talking about cleaning out her refrigerator, her wardrobe, and her pharmaceuticals throughout the duration of this poem. So literally, the poem starts in the beginning where Giovanni writes about cleaning out all of the old and ugly food within her refrigerator, and then talks about how if she runs out of food, she'll clean out the dirty T-shirts in her closet. But then it concludes the poem by stating that she will never get rid of her pharmaceuticals because they could always help her in the future. So the visual imagery throughout this poem, as well as rhetorical questions she uses, and the spelling of the word socks, influences, and the structure of the poem influences the theme that removing one's excess problems from life allows one to move forward with a positive outlook. So the visual imagery she uses starts in line 3 of the first stanza, and she talks about getting rid of old or even just plain old ugly looking food, cooked or raw. So saying that she'll get rid of food that's cooked or raw encompasses all of the food that you could get rid of. So she's not limiting herself to throwing away just specific types of food. So she also states in lines 5 to 6 that she puts on her garden shoes and slogged her way to the store to get some brie cheese. So this brie cheese is something that the speaker is dying to have, that she will go to the extent to get her way to the store and go through all these obstacles in order to get this brie cheese. However, we learn through Giovanni's listing, where she lists 5 things that after she brings the brie cheese home, she forgets to leave it out, and it doesn't ripen, and now it has to be microwaved. And so through this list, we find out that although she went through these obstacles, she was not successful in having her brie cheese in the end. Cleaning out the refrigerator will just remove food items such as the brie cheese, as well as other items that would make her life simpler. In the second stanza, she talks about cleaning out T-shirts that have the least little mare on them, and also favorite pink argyle socks that need to be taken care of. So these items that are dirty symbolize the complications in her life, because if the items of clothing have layers of dirt on them, they represent all of the obstacles that one has had to go through in order to have this shirt. So getting rid of these dirty T-shirts and these socks will help one in the future by having less problems to worry about. Speaking of socks is spelled S-O-X throughout this poem rather than S-O-C-K-S, and this spelling change not only simplifies the word, but also looks as though socks aren't as important in comparison to the T-shirts that the speaker owns, because they are not correctly spelled. So therefore, these little items in our life that are not important shouldn't be focused on as much throughout life in comparison to the bigger items such as the T-shirts. So going back to the visual imagery, Giovanni talks about there always being something wrong with the socks, and she uses the phrase "a pilly here, a bit of elastic showing there." So the sock is unraveling and falling apart. Therefore, the speaker should not worry about the sock because it is such a little It's such a little part of their overall life. So the visual imagery used to describe the cooked and raw food, as well as to describe the unraveling socks, enhances this theme of removing one's excess problems from life in order to move forward with a positive outlook. There is also a sub-unit of the theme throughout the poem, which is caring for the important aspects in life. Because, for example, when the speaker went out to get the brie cheese, they put on their garden shoes and sloughed their way to the store, and because they went to such a great extent in order to get this cheese, but did not take care of this cheese, they learned that not putting care towards something will result in a bad outcome. As well as at the end of the poem, the speaker is talking about pharmaceuticals and how she could never get rid of her pharmaceuticals because if she got rid of her painkillers, for example, and she had pain in the future, she would be alone and wouldn't have anything to help her. Therefore, she realizes she has to keep these pharmaceuticals in her life because she knows they will be important and helpful to her in the future. So both the pharmaceuticals and the brie cheese are examples of caring for the important aspects in your life, so not only do you want to get rid of the problems arising in your life, but you want to keep the good things that will help you throughout your life. Next, looking at the literary device of rhetorical question, Giovanni uses two rhetorical questions in the second part of the poem. First, she is talking about blouses that she bought and asks, why in the devil did I buy that? And readers aren't supposed to answer this question. Rather, this question leads into the answer of throwing the blouse away because one bought this blouse on instinct rather than on truly needing it, which portrays the idea of simplifying one's life. The second rhetorical question is asked when the speaker starts cleaning out her cosmetics and pharmaceuticals, and she has already discussed cleaning out the food, cleaning out her closets, like with her t-shirts and her socks. So now she asks, what about your cosmetics and your pharmaceuticals? Again, this isn't meant for the readers to answer, yet it just transitions them into talking about the importance. It contrasts the pharmaceuticals and cosmetics with the food and the t-shirts. So lastly, talking about structure, the poem is organized into two kind of chunky stanzas. They're not necessarily stanzas, they're more paragraph style. So this is prose poetry. And there are ellipses used in both parts, in the first paragraph of the poem and the second paragraph styled stanza of the poem. So having ellipses, such as in the first line, I clean, ... no, ... that's not true. The ellipses work to show that she's processing what she's trying to portray to the readers. And again, in the second line, the ellipses show the continued thought of Nikki Giovanni, which just shows her slowing down to think about the problems that she needs to get rid of in her life. So overall, the speaker, Giovanni, uses visual imagery, the spelling of socks and rhetorical questions, as well as overall structure to portray the theme that removing one's excess problems from life can allow them to move forward with a positive outlook.
Okay. You mentioned that there is a lot of rhetorical question, and there are the two rhetorical questions that they simplify. How do they actually do that? Or how do they imply simplicity?
They imply simplicity because she questions her actions for buying such blouses when she didn't need them. So she implies simplicity by showing to readers that you don't need everything that you buy, and that moving forward with by getting rid of these blouses will help you to simplify your life.
Okay. And then the whole raw versus cooked foods. What do those I don't know, what does that do? What is that image of cooked and raw and including both of them? What does that do for the message?
Including both cooked and raw foods encompasses the idea that all food, no matter what state it is in, can be removed in order to simplify one's life, because just because the food is raw doesn't mean it should be held on to in order to develop further in the future.
Okay.
Good job.